Hi, Garrett. How you doing? All right. Great start. Really, really nice start so far. Good job. All right, let's go take a look. I noticed there's no PDF or JPEG submitted, so I tried downloading this, but it's really super pixelated, and it's nothing you did. It's just the nature of the compression. So we'll look at this. It's a good idea to include to attach the PDF. That way we can get in there and zoom in and zoom out and do some things that if needed. So keep that in mind as we move forward. But let's make do with what we have here. I think it's a really good start. A couple of things that I think are well. Well, let me give you my comments, my general reaction to what we're seeing. I think it's a good layout. I think the concept is really strong. I love the relationship between the type, the kind of the distant, and the man looking as he's almost looking into the type and into the. He's definitely looking into the distance, but he's almost looking into the type, which is really an interesting technique. I think it's very engaging. That's neat stuff. Good job. The first thing I want to talk about is the typography. I think the typography definitely needs to be adjusted. It's smart to, you've got this on a little bit of a curve, and that kind of reinforces the curvature of the sun. And I think, again, a really cool technique. But this needs to be refined. It almost looks like it's distorted or skewed. You want that to be perfect, right? See how that's kind of distorted on that end. It kind of comes out like this a little bit. So you want this to be as perfect as possible. So my recommendation is to work on that type. And I think it was really good restraint that you didn't make that curve any more than this, just that little subtle curve to reinforce the curvature of the sun. Good, solid technique. Speaking of the sun, as it's tucked behind um, the mountains, it's really interesting that you preserve the light source in a really interesting way. So basically what we have is this, and when I say the light source, I'm saying this in all areas except this. Okay, and the reason being is here's the sun in the middle, right? So the sun on this side would cast a light on the right side of the mountains, right? But this one seems a little bit ambiguously placed, so I would work on that. This highlight here looks great, and on the right side of the poster, the highlights, since the sun is in the middle, the highlights would be on the left side of the mountains, which they are. So that's fantastic. The color of the highlight on the mountains, I think, is a little bit misleading because it looks like snow, but it's clearly meant to be a light source and not snow. So my recommendation is to try to take that color and move it towards that. Don't use the exact color, of course, but try to depict this kind of yellow orangish glow off the mountains as opposed to pure white. So try to work on the color of the reflection. I think that'll help. I'm sorry, of the highlights. That'll help a lot. And this area here, as I said, it's just a little ambiguous. These are clearly showing highlights, but this one is just kind of, work on that. Good choice for the sky. Nice amber kind of burning sunset sky. So that's really cool too. I like the way that the foreground meets the horizon. So you haven't really defined a difference between the ground and the trees and the horizon. And I think that ambiguity actually adds kind of a neat touch. I think that's cool. I like the road, kind of the perspective of the road. I think that's effective too. It reinforces depth. The stance of the guy contemplating what he's saying, I think that's really cool as well. The drop shadow, great technique. I shouldn't say the drop shadow. I should say the cast shadow. It's a great technique, but think about this. As the light source hits the object, the darkest part of the shadow is going to be at the closest to the individual, right? So the gradient on the shadow would be reversed. Okay, the darkest part would be coming off the feet, and the shadow would dissipate as it moves off into the distance. Do you see what I'm saying? So my recommendation is if you're going to use a gradient on the shadow, reverse that gradient so the shadow is stronger where it meets the subject and it weakens as it moves on. And that's up to you. I mean, I don't really think you need a gradient in the shadow. I would keep it very light to indicate shadow. I think it adds a lot of visual interest. I'm not real sure. I mean, I'm not even really sure in reality that the shadow would have a gradient on it. Um, That's a tough call because it really depends on the nature of the light source and how that works. But if you want to keep the gradient, that's great. I would just reverse it and see how you like that, see how that looks. If not, maybe take that color, that value right there, and keep that constant throughout the shadow. My final recommendation, or my final comment, I should say, is this. It seems like this is some sort of a logo. Like this is like an outdoor club or something, right? And if it is, add some text. Just say, Outdoor Club of Colorado or something like that. And then the logo, I would not center it. I think it takes away from. I would take that and place it over here on the right hand side. So, um, okay. Other than that, I think we're looking really fantastic. So really great start. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I just want to make sure my comments make sense to you. So let me know if you have any questions or if I can provide any further clarification. But let's go ahead and address those comments for the submission for the end of the week. All right, great job. Great job. Thank you very much.